to make sure that we dotted every I and crossed every T for this day. We all have the honor of representing the family of Tyre Nichols. Present with us today is his mother, Rovine Wells, and his father, Rodney Wells. Let you sit up. Today, we announce Today, we announce a $500 million landmark lawsuit against the Memphis Police Department and the city of Memphis for the torture, savage, brutal, dehumanizing, extrajudicial killing of Tyre Nichols. This landmark lawsuit is not only to get the justice for Tyre Nichols in the civil courts, but it is also a message that is being sent to cities all across America who have these police oppression units that have been given the license by city leaders to go and terrorize black and brown communities, whether they be in Atlanta, Georgia, or whether they be in New Orleans, Louisiana, or Chicago, Illinois, or Miami, Florida. These jump out units, these red dog units, these proactive police units, these brave units, these scorpion units that we're going to talk about in particular. Many of us in the black community know them as the jump out boys. Many of our white brothers and sisters have never heard of the jump out boys, but the jump out boys are known far too often in black communities as police officers, Jennifer, who are given license to harass and brutalize black people and brown people. And this lawsuit and the amount that we're suing for is a message that if you keep giving license to these gang-minded police officers to perpetrate acts of terrorism on black and brown people, then we're coming to your city. And we're going to bring these lawsuits in every city where there is a George Floyd that is savagely killed at the hands of law enforcement, where there is an Ivo Otieno savagely killed at the hands of law enforcement, where there's a Tyre Nichols savagely killed at the hands of law enforcement. If it happens in your city, we're coming to your city too. Because, let me be clear and unambiguous about it. It is our mission to make it financially unsustainable for these police oppression units to unjustly kill black people in the future. We want to make them where they can't even afford it, where they're going to train their officers differently, where they're going to get rid of these units because they're going to say, we don't want what happened in Memphis, Tennessee with Tyre Nichols to happen to my city.
That's right.
Come on now.
Right on.
Come on.
That is what Robin talks about when she talks about the legacy of Tyre Nichols.
Yes.
It's not just about getting justice for him, but it's also about preventing any of the families having to look in that hospital bed and see their child projecting the image that Emmett Till projected 70 years ago. The savage beating of Tyre Nichols was a direct and foreseeable product of the unconstitutional policies, practices, customs, and decisions made by the city of Memphis. Attorney Ramanucci is about to address you in just a few minutes, and you will see this landmark lawsuit goes into great detail about how from the top down that this was foreseeable, because this were the policies and the procedures of the Memphis Police Department. How does this horrific and unconstitutional treatment of black men and women by law enforcement continue to happen? Tyre's condition in the hospital can be likened to that of Emmett Till 70 years ago, who was also beaten unrecognizably by a lynch mob. But Tyre's lynch mob was dressed in department-issued sweatshirts and vests, sanctioned by the entities that ran the Memphis Police Department. Please, Memphis. Please, America. We must hold each and everybody accountable who had any hand in the torture, the savagery, the brutality, the extrajudicial killing of Tyre Nichols. Each and every one of them must be held accountable if we are to create meaningful change once and for all. Please, Memphis, please, America, let us not have to take 70 years to hold people accountable to the point where we won't see any more of our children looking like Emmett Till. And if we don't hold all of them responsible from the top to the bottom, shame on us if it happens to your child. Shame on all of us. Finally, it's not lost on me, Kareem Ali, that it was 55 years ago in this city that Martin Luther King was assassinated. And that's why we are intentional about bringing this lawsuit for $550 million. We are trying to send a clear message to Memphis and a clear message to America.
That's right.
No more Tyre Nichols.
No more.
No more Tyre Nichols.
No more.
No more Tyre Nichols.
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 And before Attorney Ramanucci come and address you, Dr. King said this: the law can't make a man love me, but the law can keep a man from lynching me.
Right on.
And he said, that's a pretty important thing. He said that the law cannot change a man's heart, but the law can restrain the heartless. And he said, this is why we say we must have legislation, policies, and accountability to be able to deal with the evil and the injustices of the world. Today, we are sending a message that in Tyre's name, in Tyre's legacy, we're going to have meaningful legislation and meaningful accountability to the point where we will not have any other individuals killed in the manner that Tyre Nichols was killed. That is the assignment that Ms. Rovine talks about with such conviction.
Yes.
Will you join us in this assignment?
Yes. Yes.
And now you will hear from a great lawyer, an extraordinary lawyer, a person cut from the same vein of the Thurgood Marshalls and the Constant Baker Motleys, a lawyer who's steeped in civil rights, who believes in civil rights for all of our citizens. We fought together for George Floyd, and now we're fighting together for Tyre Nichols. I consider him my brother, and I'm so honored to try to push the turntables of history together to make a better world for all our children. And that is Attorney Antonio Romanucci from Chicago, Illinois.
Thank you very much, Ben. And of course, thank you, Rovine and Rodney, for this honor of representing your son, Tyre Nichols, in this horrible tragedy. I do want to give special thanks to the remainder of the legal team. Lavani, Bryce, Sarah, Dave, Brooke, thank you so much for all that you've done. So I'm here to talk a little bit more about the lawsuit and why it's landmark. Because today, for those of you who are here, you are at the beginning of the witness of history. This lawsuit is landmark not only for the monetary compensation that will be awarded in this case, but it's because of the depth and the breadth of the indifference that we saw on January 7th. But you have to understand one thing. Tyre died much longer than before he sustained that savage beating on January 7th. The decision-making process that went into what the Scorpion unit did on January 7th happened months and years earlier than that because of the deliberate indifference of the chief of police of this city, Sarah Lynn Davis.
Yep. Right on. Come on.
She put that Scorpion unit in place because she thought that because you put the word peace, you embed peace within Scorpion, that you were going to get peace. But instead, that Scorpion unit was a stinger, and they only had one mission.
Right on.
And we know what that mission was, and we're going to call it out right now. Stop young black men in cars and get whatever evidence you can from those vehicles and suppress it.
Yeah.
That's what Scorpion was all about. The same thing that Red Dog was all about in Atlanta, Georgia, when they tried to run every drug dealer out of Georgia with Red Dog.
Yep.
Sarah Lynn Davis brought the concept here, put it on a different name.
Yep.
So what did we witness instead? The three-headed monster. The three-headed monster of the city of Memphis, the individual officers, and the paramedics. All in some sort of explicit or implicit conspiracy to let this young man die. They killed him and they let him die. Nobody cared about him. Each one of those three-headed monsters was indifferent and is indifferent to this day, because as we know, nothing's changed except Scorpion Unit is disbanded. What other policies have changed since then to cure the indifference that we have? And I know of none. So this lawsuit is landmark because of those reasons. We are going to peel back every single onion layer that we can to expose the indifference that's been existing in the Memphis Police Department, not for days, not for weeks, but for months. And when they were told, when this community told Memphis Police in December 6th of 2022, that Scorpion Unit was acting unconstitutionally, Tyre had a chance to be saved.
That's right.
But instead, those pleas by you all were ignored.
That's right.
And instead, what happened? There's a sign up above me. I am a man with dignity.
Yes.
Tyre had dignity all the way to the very end.
That's
And
right.
we can't say that about anybody from the city of Memphis, its police officers, its chief, or even its paramedics. The unfathomable task of saving a life, and they ignored this young man's pleas when he cried out for mom.
Right on.
It's just unimaginable, incomprehensible. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, this is landmark. There are many prongs to this lawsuit, and we will show you why it is landmark because of the depth and breadth of this indifference. They beat him, they ignored him, they mocked him, they took pictures of him. And lest we not forget, they lied. They lied. Who did they lie to?
His mother, everybody.
Mom.
Yep.
They lied to mom. And you will see that in the lawsuit, there's a count, or counts, for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Because Lieutenant Smith went to go see Rovan and Rodney. Didn't lie once, didn't lie twice. I wish I could say 3 times. But the entire conversation was a lie of deceit. When her son was yards away trying to call for mom, being denied, this family, these parents being denied the opportunity to see him because they were told lies about him. That's why this is a landmark case. That's why we will make history. That's why our goal, Bend team, our goal is to make systemic, institutional, widespread change, Memphis and in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney Ramanucci. And now we will hear from a pillar in the legal community here in Memphis, Tennessee, a mentor of mine, and I'm so proud that we get to work on this historic case together. Retired Judge Ernestine Doyce will now address you. A great, great woman, and lawyer, and everything in between.
And I am a person of brevity, and I just want to make it known and place you on notice that we're not here, Mrs. Wells is not here, for vengeance. We're here for accountability.
Amen.
Accountability. And so when Tyre asked, what did I do wrong? Or what did I do? You now notice there should be an answer to the question of what will you do?
Amen.
What will the country do? What will we do so that those questions won't have to be asked under the same circumstances, and that everybody should be on notice that there's always a payday. And I am not talking about a vengeance, not necessarily the 500 million, but we still have to pay for what it is that we do on this earth. So it's not a vengeance thing, it's an accountability thing. And so step up to the plate and answer the question. You don't notice, what will we do? Or what would you do?
Amen. Thank you, Judge. And the final two people you will hear from are the people who knew Tyre best. They've been so dignified and graceful in their grieving, and they're here again to continue to talk about the assignment. And then we will try to take some of your questions. We give you Rodney Wells, Tyre's father, and Tyre's mother, Robin Wells, who, as you all know, Time magazine has named Time 100 most influential people in the world. And she is somebody who continues to rivet us as she talks about her assignment that God has placed on her child's life. Miss Robin Wells and Mr. Rodney Wells.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here today. 500 million. That's a lot of money. But just as the judge spoke, this has nothing to do with the monetary value of this lawsuit, but everything that has to do with accountability.
Amen.
Those 5 police officers murdered my son. They beat him to death. And they need to be held accountable along with everyone else that has something to do with my son's murder. I never thought in a million years that I would be in this place standing here. But I can tell you this, as I've said before, my son was here on an assignment, and he's fulfilled that assignment. God took him home, but now it's my turn to make sure that my son's death does not go in vain.
Right on.
And we have to do some things, push some issues in order so that this will not happen to another child. Because I tell you, this shouldn't happen to no mother, no parent. No parent should be going through what I'm going through right now. I don't wish on my worst enemy. But things need to change. I've met some beautiful people in the last 90 days. But I've met them under these circumstances because now we're all in the same fraternity. And those beautiful people that I'm speaking of are the moms of Ahmaud Arbery or Breonna Taylor or Trayvon Martin's mother. Those people are beautiful people, but see what happened? We're all now in this fraternity that none of us want to be in. We've all lost our child due to some type of police violence, and this just needs to stop. I mean, how many more Tyre's is this going to happen to? We just can't have this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mama Rose.
And Mr. Rodney Wells.
I just want to say thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank our legal team, Tony Romanucci, Ben Crump, and Kareem Ali, especially. My wife has pretty much said everything that I could ever say under these circumstances. This is a landmark case. It will make history. And I just thank everybody for being a part of this. As my wife said about joining this fraternity, we had no idea. We did not want this. We would trade places with anybody. You know, people think this is glamorous. It's not. You know, we go home at night, we cry, we weep. Our lives have to change dramatically because of this. We were simple people. We like to come home after work, watching sports, and go to bed. All this been turned upside down. So, as I said, my wife has pretty much said anything or everything that I wanted to say. So thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a few questions. Please keep them focused on the legal matters and directed towards the attorneys. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer McGuffin. I'll say this in anticipation of your questions. The lawsuit is going to be electronically disseminated to any and everybody who wants it. And Bhavani, Bryce, I understand there's 897 paragraphs of this lawsuit. And Sarah and Brooke and everybody who worked on this lawsuit understands that every paragraph in this lawsuit speaks to the brutality of this lynch mob that were cloaked with a gun and a badge assigned by the Memphis Police Department and their actions and why we must hold them accountable. Every word in this lawsuit, every punctuation mark in this lawsuit was germane to what Rovon just said, accountability. That's what Tony Ramanucci, Ernestine Dorsey, and I tried to spell out in this lawsuit painstakingly. We went back to in Atlanta in 2006 when the 92-year-old grandmother was killed by the Red Dog unit because it was foreseeable, right, Attorney Ramanucci? It was foreseeable that if you have these types of police oppression units, people will be brutalized. People's constitutional rights will be violated. And worst of all, innocent people like Tyre Nichols would die.
Innocent.
And so we'll take your questions.
Attorney Crump, can you share how you came up with the $500 million number and who all is named in the lawsuit?
Certainly, I'll talk about the amount, and I have Attorney Ramanucci go through the names. But as we thought about this, Attorney Ramanucci, Attorney Doris, Kareem, and all of us, we were intentional with the $550 million amount we're seeking. We wanted it to not only speak to the conduct of these officers, but also to the policy for which these officers were following. And we wanted to send a message to other cities that have similar policies that say it's okay to terrorize black people in black communities and in brown communities. And so it was intentional. It wasn't a mistake when we say $550 million. This is the 55th year of the anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King, and we're in the city where Dr. King was assassinated. So this is a landmark lawsuit for a myriad of reasons, the dollar figure being just one of them. Attorney Ramanucci will talk to you about everybody who we sued in this lawsuit. Attorney Ramanucci.
Thank you. Very good. So I think what's critically important here, and I will tell you exactly who we have sued and under what theories, but this is one of the first times that we know that unconstitutional violations were given as an order in this city for the Scorpion unit to carry out. When Chief Davis told her Scorpion unit, get the cars, don't worry if the case is dropped in court. That is a constitutional edict. An unconstitutional edict, excuse me. And then when you have the officers on the scene who talk about, make sure you stomp his ass. Look at what happens when you marry those two policies together. You're going to get needless harm, unnecessary death, and you're going to get this. So those people are all accountable. And who are those people? We're going to start from the top. It's Chief Saralyn Davis. Number one, accountable, liable. Next, we have Emmett Martin. We have Demetrius Haley, Justin Smith, Desmond Hills, and Tadarius Bean. And those are the 5 officers who were responsible for the individual beating of Tyre underneath that pole camera. Chief Davis is being sued in her official capacity as the policymaker here in Memphis, Tennessee. We have sued Preston Hemphill. He is the officer who has been astutely pointed out. He was one of the jump out boys who held the gun and pointed it at Tyre without even knowing if Tyre had even committed a crime. They stopped the vehicle with no reasonable, articulable suspicion, meaning they had no reason to do what they do because Tyre was not a suspect in any crime, nor had he committed one. Continued violations of the law. And then you have the paramedics, who are Robert Long, Jamichael Sandridge, and Michelle Whitaker, who, rather than check the ABCs, right? That's what you're supposed to do as a paramedic, check airway, breathing, circulation. They let him sit for 19 minutes while he lay there dying. Lastly, we have sued Dwayne Smith, who is the lieutenant who went to the Wells and Rovan home, Rodney and Rovan's home, and lied to them. So that is who we have sued in this case.
Thank you.
What I want to tell you, one more thing. Ben said there are 897 paragraphs. I want you to take a look at page 4. There's a photo on page 4. Look at the picture on the left side. That is the picture of a young, healthy, happy young man. I asked the people that we've sued to make sure they look on that page also to see what they've caused.
Yes.
What is landmark lawsuit like this possible mention to not have previous history for these state police
Now, it's an important question. I've often been asked that, what makes this a landmark lawsuit? And the first answer that comes to me, and Attorney Mendelson, we're going to see in the near future, these officers are going to admit that this is how they were trained. They're going to admit that what they were doing was what they always did. This was not something unique. And what makes it unique in a landmark lawsuit is the fact that this is going to be the first time in America where they're going to hear police officers saying, no, we weren't just bad apples, that we were not just somebody out for Saturday night kicks to beat up somebody. This is what they trained us to do to young black men. And that is going to be landmark in the astonishing nature of it, but also it's going to be landmark for what Attorney Ramanucci and all these great lawyers are going to talk about as establishing Monell claim, that this was the pattern, the practice, and the policy of the Memphis Police Department. And Memphis is not alone in this. That's what really is landmark about it, because it is a warning sign to all these other cities who are out here terrorizing black people in black communities and brown people in the communities because they think they have a license to do it. Where we want them to know, if you do this, then we're coming to your city next.
Should Chief Davis resign or be fired?
Ben, I think we need to wrap. We've got a health emergency.
Okay. We're gonna end it. We
Should
have.
Chief Davis resign or be fired?
We gonna.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Should you have any further questions, press at benprump.com. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here.